Welcome to ATME Training. I'm Craig O'Neill. In this session, we're going to focus on basic skills inside AutoTextMe that you, the service advisor, can engage to benefit your day-to-day experience right here from any device or workstation. Whenever you're ready, log in, we'll get started. All right, so let's log in. The first thing you need to do is open a web browser. We are optimized for Firefox and Chrome. Please make sure it's the latest version. You're gonna have a unique URL for your shop. Make sure you plug that in at the top of your page and you'll find yourself at the login screen where you can plug in your username and password that should have been provided to you by your administrator. Click sign in and this is gonna take you directly to your AutoTextMe dashboard and we're ready to get started. Now, the first thing I recommend all new users do is add yourself to the board as a client and just start clicking around. So we're gonna show you the quick add button. You can go ahead and click that and you can plug in your mobile number. In this case, I will use my phone number that I'm using a fake client for. I've got Joe Palooka recognized as the client. We're gonna add Joe Palooka to the board. We just need the phone number, a name, and then a year, make, and model for the vehicle. There's a drop down here as I've used this fictional client many times. I'm going to choose the 2002 Honda Odyssey and we are going to move right through. You can set this estimated time to completion however you need to. By default is going to move just a few hours ahead of where you are typically. So we are going to put this for Friday at, let's just say 5:00 p.m. and we're good. And just like that, we have somebody on the board and you can begin communicating with them by text, updating statuses, dispatching technicians. All the features of AutoTextMe are at your disposal. Now, if you are integrated, please know you can go to our website at any time. You can look at the specific integration training. I'm focusing on a standalone version in this video. All the features will be the same pretty much from this point, but there are some nuanced behaviors that you're going to want to know related to your shop management system. Take a look on our training page. We'll link that for you here in the video thread. Now, as you see, adding a customer to the board is very simple, and there's a reason that I start with this. Once you have this customer on the board, they started in the status check-in. And if you look on your dashboard, there's what we call these swim lanes. You see all the statuses laid out, and some of them will automatically text the customer. You can see where our namesake comes from in this example. Now, since Joe Palooka received that message, and if you're following along by adding yourself to the board, you'll have received a text message as well. Go ahead and reply to that message. As soon as you do, you're gonna be alerted to the fact right here inside of AutoTextMe. You get an alert, here's Joe Palooka, he texts us back. The button over here turns orange. We have a notification, which we do have some control over in our user settings, and you can click on any of these. It'll help clear the notification out. When you do click on that, notice it clears all those notifications, and now that opens that text modal that we have. This opens in a variety of other places too. If I had clicked the other notification up here, it would have, and if I click the text button right here, it does the same thing, and this is where we can carry our two-way conversation with the client. You're welcome. And that's it. Congratulations, you're texting in AutoTextMe. So now that we know how to text in the tool, let's talk just briefly about the workflow. This workflow is heavily customizable, and as you've seen, some of the statuses can text the client automatically for us to start streamlining our communication. A lot of service advisors get nervous about this and they're worried about updates going out at the wrong time. Well, take a look at this. These statuses can be silent, and you can identify a silent status versus a loud status simply by the parentheses that are indicated on the status in front of you. Any status with the parentheses in its title are indeed silent. Now, updating statuses is as simple as clicking on it and it'll move that vehicle forward. A one-click status update is super important, as status updates can be something that are difficult in a lot of shop management systems. A lot of shop management systems are integrated with this, so it may automatically update based on inputs in your shop management system, and other integrations allow us to move the status for you in your shop management system. So these being interlinked two-way in many cases are very beneficial. There are also some statuses that I deliberately leave unmapped that shop management systems can't accommodate as well. When I use my waiting for parts status, you can choose a couple of different things to choose in a toggle here to indicate what you're waiting for. And if you're waiting on parts for a specific amount of time, you can indicate that time. and then that status will indicate this. Now, notice that is a silent status, so there is no text that's going to go to the customer, but anyone in the shop that's looking at the title on that status will see that we're waiting on parts and we expect them to arrive in about 3 hours. Now that we've played with the workflow and texted a little bit, let's go ahead and dispatch one of these tickets to our technicians. One of the easiest ways to do this is within the Details tab. You, of course, can go and assign any technician you want to a vehicle, but I prefer using either Set Priority, which is available right here on top of the dashboard, or TechFlow. If you're an advanced tier, you'll want to use TechFlow. I'm going to focus on Set Priority because it behaves almost identically to TechFlow in terms of dispatching. It's simple drag and drop dispatching. So you take a vehicle or a customer and you can go ahead and drag it to the technician you want to work on that vehicle. You can pop open these cards and see additional information. You can expand all the cards if you want to, and you can go ahead and drag multiple vehicles for that tech and give a few others some additionals. So swap them around, change the priority. I generally teach top priority tickets go right on top, priority number 1, so that there is no confusion. And then as soon as you've done that, the dashboard will be updated with that technician information. Now, we can see these dispatch pieces on the dashboard. What's really neat is that this happens in real time on the technician's tablet. We'll take a look at that for just a second. All right, so here's the view that you'll see with a technician's tablet. I went ahead and made another window on the screen about tablet size, and you can see the view is a little bit different in this case. They see what status the vehicle's in, and they can see the priority. I do encourage, and if your technicians are with you as you're going through this training, have them bring their tablets in, get oriented with this. I encourage sorting by the priority, descending. This way, the top priority ticket that you assign in AutoTextMe will be the top ticket inside of their screen as well. This just makes dispatching a little bit easier, and it allows us to communicate very effectively with statuses without having to actually chat back and forth. In this section, we're going to demonstrate how to use the digital inspection form in AutoTextMe. We're going to do this from a technician login, but we're going to do this in full screen. You'll notice the technicians have a very similar view as service advisors. There is one notable absence on their screen. They have no text button to communicate with the clients, and that's true with the inspection form as well. When a technician will complete this, as you'll see later, they cannot send the inspection form to the client. Only you, the service advisor, can do that. With that, we're going to proceed, and we're going to talk about the DVI for a few moments. I'm going to click on the DVI button here or here. I'll just click it right on the workflow. Notice that is not a status. That is just a workflow button that's in the a worksheet button that's in that workflow. You'll see that I'm still sitting in that check-in status, and that'll stay true until I update something, maybe it's mileage or anything else. Any change the technician makes in the inspection form for the first time is going to automatically cause that status update to the inspection status. This is customizable. You can disable that if you want. If you want a silent inspection status, you can do that too. I find it very timely to give the client an update on when the technician is really looking at the car. Vehicle metadata is up front here. You also can see a bunch of other items. This is profile images. Please do not use the add picture button here to take pictures of broken car parts. This section here is just a vehicle profile. Images that will be there every subsequent visit that this comes back for. Even if the vehicle's not in the shop, you'll be able to access this. That's why I do encourage getting at least one exterior photo, getting that tire placard, and the VIN sticker for each vehicle. This is very helpful. Now there's additional information here. You have notes from any previous visits, and one of the most important pieces of information that you will have in the inspection is the reason the vehicle's here. Technicians and advisors, it doesn't matter who's performing the inspection, behavior's the same. We want to make sure that RVH is taken care of. New acronyms we're throwing around at you. Reason vehicle here, RVH. It'll get burned in your brain quick enough, but please do not ignore these. You cannot submit this inspection if you do not acknowledge the reason for the visit. And most shop management systems, we pull that data directly from your shop management system, so there is no double input necessary to go and populate all these notes in here. You can click acknowledge, and that's all that's required. There is more you can do with that. We're going to come back to that area momentarily. A few other items like tire inspections, history, and good stuff right there in these drop-down accordions. You can see any work order history if you're using our work order. And then we're just going to go down in the main meat of this inspection form. These forms can be selected, by the way. There are multiple drop downs here. You're going to have default inspections, some shop management systems. If you assign it in your shop management system, it'll automatically be mapped to AutoTextMe. And if you are requested to do a certain inspection form, maybe it's an RVH note, you can go perform multiple inspections as well. We're gonna stay on this main sheet, and we're just gonna go into this section here and pop out these categories. You can expand the whole sheet or just do one category at a time, which is what I recommend. The R that you see is a required item. That means that I must mark it green, yellow, or red in order to submit this sheet. That is a fully customizable feature on what items you do recommend. That asterisk in this section actually means that there's history inside of some of these items. So if I wanted to go and click on something here, you can see that asterisk on the exhaust, and you can see, wow, okay, this vehicle at one point here had a missing catalytic converter. You can download the image, take a look at that, and see some additional details, or you can actually just look at the notes that were made here. It is missing a cat. True story behind that one. One of the things that I do want to mention is some basic best practices. As we move through here, I'm going to show you how to add some images, and I'm going to do this from the file browser in my computer. You can do the same thing on a tablet, and folks, I usually do recommend this. Best practice tip from the experts here, we recommend you simply take the pictures on the device and then quickly upload them all at once. I find this to be a tremendously efficient way to move through inspections. Fun fact, I do typically recommend in training that technicians should be able to complete a courtesy level inspection in 7 to 12 minutes. This is a key strategy that I use to try to make sure that we meet that target time. One image will upload about the same speed as all 4 at once, so use this to your discretion. By taking these 4 corners, you have a good best practice established here. You're going to be able to go in and you can actually just mark up any of these items. You'll notice there's a timestamp on these as well. You can indicate that this is scuffed, whatever you need to do. We require this every single visit. We jokingly will tell you that this alone will pay for AutoTexMe many times over in a single year, avoiding embarrassment and arguments with the clients especially. You can indicate whatever you need to indicate here, and you also can choose any of these drop-down notes that we have in the tool. We'll talk more on that momentarily. Now, good items that you do find, yes, it's very easy to go through and just mark things green. My advice is don't get in a habit of just what I would call pencil whipping inspections, where you would go through and just click a whole bunch of things green and calling that good enough. If you don't look at it, do not mark it as anything at all. Just leave it blank. The reason is we don't show customers anything that does not get this click on green, yellow, or red. So again, tell your techs, tell yourselves, if you don't actually look at it, don't go calling it good just to work your way through a form. That is considered a poor practice and, well, unethical. So do not do it. Now, engine oil. I'm going to show you how the drop-down notes work over here. This is a common item, so there's going to be common things we have to say, due based on time and mileage. You'll notice that's sort of yellow on this screen. Certain tablets, you won't see the colors, but you will see the check mark, the exclamation point, or the X. Now, when I click this and I hit save, that will mark the status of that note depending on what type of note it was. So there's some pretty simple behaviors in here that just make for less typing as the technician, especially on tablets. I don't know anybody who really loves typing on tablets. There is speech dictation on tablets, which works fantastic, but I like drop downs for the common items. Transmission fluid is a great example of this, right? Fair condition, and we're going to use drain and refill as the option for this. We're on a 2002 Odyssey, so this works out really well. I'm just going to skip through a few things. Now, that's the underhood section. We can expand out on that further. Remember that reason the vehicle's here, it said rattle over bumps, right? And so let's start checking out our suspension and steering, and we're going to get to this sway bar line item here. And I use this example quite a bit because it's a common item we've all seen many times in our lives as technicians and advisors, and we've had to sell a great many of these. So what customer picture when we say the word sway bar link or stabilizer link or anything to that effect, I can't imagine what they're imagining. I've been around this stuff for way too long, and this sort of image becomes an incredible asset for you and your team to be able to show a client. This is this is a sway bar link, right? We can highlight it for the customer. We can put a box around it. We can do whatever we need to do, and we can say some things about it. Obviously, this sort of thing, an image markup like this, not something I ask from a lot of technicians because it's very easy to do mouse and keyboard, and that's usually going to be the service advisor at the counter. But there's plenty of circumstances where it's beneficial. So, hey, sway bar link, boot torn, loose, cause of your rattle. There we go. So you can caption these, and the customer is going to see this a little different than we see it right now, but it's a highly valuable image. So we have a note, we have a finding. We're going to just abbreviate this right now. I think you'll have the idea. This is pretty simple to go through. There's some other fun things in a DVI. We have ways of tracking whether the item gets approved later on. Technicians, you can typically ignore that. We have other items like I like the Moto Visuals tool. There's lots of stuff that we can do. Suspension. Here we go. So a couple fun things. When you have suspension items, you can attach some training videos and these sort of things right into your DVI. If you wanted to show anything like that, you can go and plug these sort of videos in. Not something I ask technicians to do in most cases, but it's there for you. Now, let's go ahead and revisit our reason the vehicle's here. Remember we had that rattle over bumps, and technicians and service advisors alike can do this. There's the edit button that you'll see. In this case, it's the pencil on the screen, and it pulls open this modal where we can put in detailed notes if we want, but I'm going to tell you right now that's not necessary. What you can do is link any inspection items, and you can filter it out, so you can just look at the yellow and red items. Here's all the items, and you can say, hey, this sway bar link, that's tagged to this reason the vehicle's here. And that's going to take that picture, and it's going to show it to the customer differently in their report, drawing key attention to the main reason for the visit. You don't want to ignore that reason for the visit while they're in. Tagging the items in your sheet that you have looked at that related to it, very beneficial. So now we're done. We're going to go ahead and click complete. And the moment that we do that, a couple of things happen. It does the sign off for us, and then it automatically puts the vehicle into the estimating status. So our service advisor knows exactly where it needs to be. And it also shows in another way too, that DVI button turns orange, indicating the technician has completed it. Your service advisor will even be notified as well. So there's no need to call him, text him, or chat him or anything. All of these triggers happen just by marking the inspection complete. Congratulations, you've completed a DVI. I encourage you to practice this as many times as you need to. The best practice is with a live customer, and let them know, hey, new tool. We're excited to be able to show you this. Take a look at what we did. They'll get excited too. Now that a technician has completed a digital vehicle inspection, we're ready to go ahead and open that up and do some edits and send this directly to our customer. Notice that DVI button has turned orange. It's time-stamped with when this was completed. Our notification bell is lit with one notification. 5 minutes ago, our technician completed that inspection. You can go ahead and click this. That button will stay orange until we actually send and have this inspection delivered. This notification, by clicking it, will clear it out of your queue and pulls you directly into the inspection form, which if you've reviewed some of the training for how to perform the DVI, should be fairly familiar by now. We have our reason the vehicle's here. We have tagged items to that. That's fantastic. If you don't see tagged items to the main concern on the inspection, service advisors, this is a fantastic opportunity for you to go in, edit this. You can do anything you need to. Even though this is a completed inspection, it's safe to go in and make any changes. You can even add notes for yourself here that your client can see, and notes for yourself that they cannot see, private notes. So I'll go ahead and say something like, hey, see sway bar link. Right? And I'm going to update that. Great, we've changed an inspection. You might be thinking, oh no, technician's not going to like it. We're changing things, adding to his signed off sheet. Now I'm going to show you some neat stuff here. This is a key element of AutoTextMe. Take this note from a technician. Not very descriptive. It's going to happen. You'll see stuff like this all the time. Loose, cause of rattle. And there you go. All right. But changing the words of a technician is alarming to some people. The good news is we timestamp anything that we do in the tool. So if our technician said one thing, his words will be preserved for you without you having to go and create separate notes or do any other thing, copy, paste, you name it. And that stays with this sheet in something called the change log, which you can access later on. Now, with our DVI edited, let's say we're happy with this. We can do a few other things before we move on. Actually, you can look at all the good items. You can look at these filters are your friend. You can look at anything marked red or yellow. You can look at items that have pictures. I do encourage you to look at that tab periodically, because one of those keynotes we teach technicians as well is that if you don't give it a green, yellow, or red status, the customer will not see that line item. And that's true if you add a picture but fail to give it a status. So look out for those, and feel free to go ahead and mark it with whatever line item status it needs to receive. Now, if everything does look good to our taste, sending the inspection is as simple as going to the top of the page, clicking the text and email button, and I do recommend sending it by both methods if you've acquired an email as well as the phone number, and then just hit that text button. You can customize the message yourself. Please be careful not to break that link, and you can add additional details, personalize this to taste. You can send it one way or another way. If you had multiple numbers plugged in for multiple clients in this group, you'd be able to turn on and off different numbers so that one or only certain individuals will receive this. Too much information is never an issue with this sort of thing, so just click that, 2 seconds, you're done. Now, as soon as I do that, the customer is going to receive that text message with the link to click on. And if you go back to your active customer page, you're going to notice that once orange DVI button is now yellow, and it's timestamped again with when this inspection was sent. We log everything, so feel free to take a look at that. Now, we're going to move into what the client sees with their view of the inspection. I'm going to go ahead and open this up. This is our text mode. I'm going to cheat here. I'm going to right click this. I'm going to open this in an incognito tab, and we're going to see what the client sees. The first thing that you'll notice, and I'm going to go actually, and we're going to bust this down into cell phone size. We're going to see that, close this here. Make a nicer cell phone size. Here's an example. So if you're following along, I hope you've sent one of these inspections to yourself as well, so you can experience this on your own mobile device. It's pretty neat. I click view inspection, and that actually does send the red report that this was opened and viewed immediately to AutoTextMe. You'll see here that that DVI button now turned green, and we know the customer opened it at that time. It's valuable information for you. Now, customer can see the status. Customer can see any info and concerns, and notice the first thing that they'll see when they're looking at the concerns that they've raised attention with is that sway bar link. And you can go ahead and click the image, and it'll pull this open, and they get to see this caption that we typed in for them, the timestamp, the box around the item, the video. If they wanted to watch this will open up in a modal as well, and they'll be able to watch that video. I didn't click on any yellow items in this particular example. Requires attention items. There are 2 red items. Notice which one stands out to you the most. Are you looking at this wall of text that I made for the transmission fluid, absent any image, or is your eye immediately drawn to the items with the images? Key point. And then of course, as you move through this, you'll see that you can have your service writer, you can have your picture on there, you can have your technician have their picture on there. Yep, that's the same person. And then of course, once they're done viewing it, they can close this. Service advisors. We're about to move into one of the most important statuses, and this will conclude this segment of training. And this is that requires authorization status. This is a simple text message, and it's one of the most important ones that I teach in terms of utility, because any of us understand that we've called customers before. We get their voicemail, we leave a lengthy voicemail, or they're calling us back as we're leaving the voicemail. We don't want to have to go through that process so many times a day when you're busy. Send a text. And this is one of those automated statuses that's going to be really useful. Before you click it, I like to know that they have viewed the inspection. Once you're satisfied that the client has viewed the inspection for long enough, you can go ahead and move it into what I consider one of the most important statuses. And that's the requires authorization status. Rather than call them, leave a voicemail, and ask them if they're sitting down or ready to have a conversation about expensive vehicle repairs, just simply click that status, Let the text message do the work. In my particular case, this text message is going to indicate that we've looked over the vehicle. It's indicated with their license plate in my example. We have your estimate ready. Please call the shop when you can. Folks, this will get you nearly immediate phone calls back so that when you're ready to go through your presentation with the client and get those authorizations, you don't have to sit around waiting. This is a fast process. It's going to speed up the amount of time that you get to the point where you have the approvals for your technicians so they aren't pushing vehicles in and out. The benefits speak for themselves in volumes once you've applied this. Now, we've only covered the first 4 statuses on the board, but in so doing, I feel like by this point, you should have a good basic understanding of the tool. From here, we do have further training. We're gonna have a lot more videos throughout our training online. We're gonna go into some details, but don't be shy about hitting the support button at the top of your page. This is loaded with information. There's further service advisor training, article upon article of the other features in the tool, how to contact support, and there's more information down here. Any general usage questions you develop as you're working with the tool, feel free, send us an email. Our support team will get back to you. Our training team is also on the support team for general usage questions, and we're happy to assist. I hope this was insightful. I hope you feel comfortable now clicking around in the tool, and you can get started doing what you need to do to bring this to your live clients. Thanks for watching.